The judge's gavel banged down so hard the sound echoed through the courtroom, and every conversation died instantly. Bring in the accused. Daniel's wrists ached as the handcuffs tightened. He lifted his head slowly, heart pounding, and for a split second his eyes met the judge's. The woman on the bench froze. Her breath caught. Daniel didn't notice. He was too busy trying to stay on his feet as the guards pushed him forward. 3 weeks earlier, he had been a free man. That night replayed in his mind as if it were happening all over again. Started with rain. Heavy, angry rain that turned the streets into rivers and soaked Daniel's worn jacket within minutes. He had just closed his small roadside repair shop, counting the little money he'd earned that day. It wasn't enough, not even close, but he sighed and stuffed it into his pocket anyway. Tomorrow, he muttered to himself, tomorrow will be better. Then he heard a cry, not loud, not dramatic, just desperate. Daniel stopped walking. He looked around. The street was nearly empty, the rain blurring the streetlights. Another cry came from the side road near the old courthouse. He hesitated. If he went home now, he'd catch the last bus. If he didn't, he'd be walking for over an hour. He thought of his empty stomach, his overdue rent, the warning his landlord had given him that very morning. Then he heard it again. Help, please. Daniel cursed under his breath and turned toward the sound. He found her slumped beside a car with its hood open. She was older, maybe in her 50s, soaked to the skin, one hand clutching her ankle. Her face was pale, her breathing uneven. Are you hurt? Daniel asked, kneeling beside her. I slipped, she said through clenched teeth. My ankle. I can't stand it. Daniel glanced at the car. Dead battery. Simple fix if he had his tools. He looked at her again. I can help you, he said, but I don't have my equipment here. She laughed weakly. Of course, that would be too easy. Daniel took off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. Why would you do that? She asked. You'll freeze. I'll survive, he said. Do you have a phone? No signal, she replied. And the battery's dying. Daniel exhaled slowly. All right, I'll walk to my shop. It's not far. I'll bring tools and help you get home. She stared at him. You don't even know me. He shrugged. Someone once helped me when they didn't have to. He turned to leave, then paused. Don't move. I'll be back. It took him 20 minutes to return, soaked and shivering. He worked quickly, his fingers numb, jump-starting the car and tightening a loose cable. Try now, he said. The engine roared to life. Her eyes widened. You did it. Like I said, Daniel smiled. Simple. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick roll of bills. Please, take this. Daniel stepped back as if she'd insulted him. No. What do you mean, no? She asked. I mean no, he said calmly. You needed help. That's all. She studied his face, searching for something. Greed, pride, expectation. She found none. Why? She asked softly. Daniel wiped rain from his eyes. Because one day, I might be the one on the ground. She opened her mouth to say something else, but he had already turned away. Wait, she called. At least tell me your name. Daniel, he said over his shoulder. Take care. He didn't see her watching him until he disappeared into the rain. The next morning, everything began to fall apart. Daniel arrived late to work. His manager barely looked at him before snapping. You're fired. No excuses. On his way home, police stopped him. Daniel Mensah? One officer asked. Yes. You're under arrest for involvement in a hit-and-run incident. Daniel laughed in disbelief. That's impossible. I wasn't. Save it for the judge, the officer said, snapping the cuffs shut. Now, standing in court, Daniel's knees trembled. The prosecutor read out the charges, each word heavier than the last. Prison time, heavy fines, a future erased. Daniel looked up again, this time really looking at the judge. Something about her seemed familiar. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she said, Proceed. Daniel sat stiffly as the trial moved forward. barely hearing the prosecutor's sharp voice slicing through the room. The accused was identified near the scene. Witnesses place him close to the damaged vehicle. He has no alibi. Daniel's lawyer leaned toward him and whispered, "Stay calm. Let me handle this." Daniel nodded, but his mind was racing. No alibi because he had been in the rain helping a stranger who didn't even know his full name. The judge listened in silence, her face unreadable. Inside, her chest felt tight. She remembered the rain, the cold, the jacket on her shoulders, the way he had refused her money without hesitation. "Daniel." When the defense finally stood, his lawyer spoke carefully. "My client is a mechanic. He helps people for a living. There is no evidence tying him directly to the incident." The prosecutor scoffed. "Good intentions don't erase facts." The judge raised a hand. "Enough." Her voice echoed, and the room went still. She adjusted her glasses and looked directly at Daniel. He swallowed hard. "Mr. Mensah," she said, "where were you on the night of the incident?" Daniel hesitated, then answered honestly. "I was on my way home from work." "And after that?" she pressed. Daniel clenched his fists. "I heard someone call for help." The prosecutor interrupted. "Your Honor, unless he can provide verifiable proof." "I asked him," the judge said firmly. Daniel continued. "I found a woman by the road. She was hurt. Her car wouldn't start. I helped her." Murmurs spread through the courtroom. The prosecutor laughed lightly. "A convenient story." The judge felt heat rise behind her eyes. She took a slow breath. "Did you know who she was?" "No," Daniel said quickly. "I didn't even ask." "And did she offer you anything in return?" "Yes," he admitted. "Money. And you accepted it?" "No." That word hit the judge like a blow. The prosecutor frowned. "Your Honor, this is irrelevant." The judge leaned back. "It is not." She looked down at the file again, though she already knew every word. Her mind replayed the moment she'd reached into her purse, expecting gratitude, or at least relief. Instead, she'd seen something rarer: quiet decency. Still, the law was the law. A witness was called. A man who claimed he'd seen Daniel running near the scene of the accident. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "That's a lie," he whispered. The judge studied the witness closely. Something felt off. His answers were too rehearsed, too quick. "Tell me," she asked suddenly, "how far were you from the vehicle when you saw the accused?" The witness blinked. "About 10 meters. And yet you identified him in heavy rain, at night, from that distance?" she asked calmly. The witness hesitated. "Ah, yes." The judge nodded slowly. "Interesting." The prosecutor cleared his throat. "Your Honor." "Sit," she said sharply. A ripple of tension ran through the room. Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't understand what was happening, but for the first time since his arrest, hope flickered. The judge called for a short recess. In her chambers, she stood by the window, rain tapping softly against the glass. She could end this easily, too easily. But justice wasn't about favors. It was about truth. She picked up her phone and made a call. "Pull the traffic camera footage from Junction 14, she said. "The full timeline. I want everything." Back in the courtroom, Daniel sat with his head bowed. His lawyer whispered, "Something's happening. I can feel it." Minutes felt like hours. When the judge returned, the courtroom rose. She remained standing, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. "Before I proceed, I must introduce new evidence." The prosecutor's face paled. "New evidence?" "Yes," she said. "Footage that places Mr. Mensah several streets away from the accident at the time it occurred." Gasps filled the room. Daniel looked up sharply. "What?" The judge met his eyes, and this time there was no doubt. She knew him. He knew her. She continued, "The witness testimony is unreliable. The charges against the accused are unsupported." The prosecutor stammered, "Your Honor, this is highly irregular." "So was the arrest," she replied coolly. Daniel's breath caught as the judge paused, emotion flickering across her face. "There is one more thing," she said quietly. The room leaned in. 3 weeks ago, this man stopped in the rain to help a stranger. He expected nothing. He asked nothing. He walked away poorer than he arrived. She swallowed. That stranger was me. A stunned silence swallowed the courtroom. Daniel's mouth fell open. His lawyer turned to him slowly, eyes wide. The prosecutor looked as though the floor had vanished beneath his feet. The judge straightened, her voice firm but trembling underneath. "Yes, I was the woman he helped that night. I had no intention of revealing this, but truth leaves no room for convenience." Murmurs erupted. The bailiff called for order, but it took several seconds before the noise faded. Daniel stood up without realizing it. "Your Honor, I didn't know. I swear." She met his gaze. "I know you didn't." Her words were gentle, but her next ones were ironclad. "And for the record, this court does not reward kindness with favoritism, but it does protect the innocent." She turned to the prosecutor. "Given the lack of credible evidence, the unreliable witness testimony, and the verified footage, this case should never have reached trial." The prosecutor opened his mouth, then closed it again. The judge raised the gavel. "All charges against Daniel Mensah are hereby dismissed." For a moment, Daniel couldn't breathe. Then the sound hit him, applause. Not loud at first, but growing. Someone shouted, "Finally!" Another said, "Justice!" The gavel struck once more. "Order," the judge said, though there was no anger in her voice this time. Daniel sank back into his seat, his hands shaking. His lawyer grabbed his shoulder. "You're free," he whispered. "You're actually free." Daniel covered his face. A sob escaped him before he could stop it. Outside the courtroom, the air felt lighter. Reporters gathered, shouting questions, cameras flashing. Daniel pushed through them, overwhelmed. "Daniel!" a voice called. He turned. The judge stood a few steps away, no longer elevated, no longer distant. Just a woman with tired eyes and a grateful smile. "I wanted to speak to you privately," she said. Daniel nodded. "Of course." They walked a short distance away. "I owe you an apology," she said. "Not for the trial, but for what you endured." "You don't owe me anything," Daniel replied quickly. "You did your job." She studied him. "You haven't changed. That matters." She reached into her bag and pulled out his old jacket, the one he'd given her, now clean and folded. "You forgot this," she said. Daniel laughed softly. "I thought it was gone." "So did I," she said. "But some things come back when they're meant to." She hesitated, then added, "If you ever need help, legal, financial, anything, my office." Daniel gently raised a hand. "Thank you, truly, but I think I'll manage." She smiled, a mix of admiration and respect. "I had a feeling you'd say that." They shook hands, and as she walked away, Daniel felt something shift inside him. Not pride, not relief, but quiet certainty. Weeks passed. Daniel found work at a new garage. Business picked up. Word spread not about the trial but about his character. People trusted him. They brought their cars, their problems, their stories. One evening, as he locked up, he noticed a small crowd gathered near the road. A young man stood beside a broken-down motorcycle, panic written all over his face. Daniel sighed, smiled, and walked over. "What happened?" he asked. The young man looked up, surprised. "It just stopped. I don't have any money to fix it." Daniel rolled up his sleeves. "Let's take a look." As he worked, rain began to fall again, light at first, then heavier. The young man asked, "Why are you helping me?" Daniel paused, then answered simply, "Because someone once helped me." The camera slowly pulls back as Daniel works in the rain. Unfazed, steady, human. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that kindness still matters, don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories like this one, and share your thoughts in the comments below. 'Cause you never know who's watching, and you never know whose future your kindness might change.